Unit 5 Review Part 1. For the first 4 questions, you have to use the diagram on the right. Alrighty, the first question wants us to name a median from the picture. Well, by definition, a median has to start at the corner or a vertex of a triangle and cut across through the midpoint of another side. So far, the only midpoint I see on this figure is point J right here. The reason that's the midpoint is because of these two tallies here. So since that's the only midpoint I see, I have to go upwards to the corner and I would get to H. So HJ would be the median because, again, has to come from a corner and cut through the midpoint. An angle bisector has to cut an angle into 2 congruent angles. So I see 2 congruent angles here and here. So that means this segment separating them would be the bisector, and that segment would be called LG or GL. By definition, an altitude has to start at a vertex or corner and form a 90-degree angle with the other side. It doesn't have to be inside the triangle, but it does have to be perpendicular to the side. It does not have to come through the midpoint. So that would be right here. I, K. Again, it starts at a vertex, which is I, and it forms a 90-degree angle with the other side. So IK. And lastly, a perpendicular bisector doesn't have to start at a corner, but it does have to pass through the midpoint and be perpendicular to the other side. So we already established that J is our midpoint, and to form a right angle, we need to come straight down through J, so that means we're going to go MJ as our bisector, or JM. You're going to have a picture very similar to this one on your test and be asked the same types of questions. So you got to be able to decipher, well, remember the meanings of each one of these 4 words, as well as what to look for when you see them on a picture. Again, a median has to start at a vertex or a corner and go through a midpoint of the other side. An angle bisector has to cut a big angle into 2 small congruent angles. An altitude has to start at the corner and cut across a triangle, forming a 90-degree angle with the side. A perpendicular bisector doesn't have to start at a corner, but it can, and it has to go through the midpoint of the other side as well as form a 90-degree angle. On this picture, they say that PU, which is here, is a median of this triangle, PTQ. So I'm going to highlight that triangle, since there's a lot of different triangles in here. So PTQ. All right. Since PU is the median. That means U is the midpoint of this side QT, which means that TU is the same measure as UQ. And then it tells us that UQ is 6. And it wants us to find the measure of TQ. Well, TQ is equal to 2 times UQ, which means it's 2 times 6, or 12. Again, TQ is the entire side, but we know the entire side is cut into 2 congruent pieces, and one of the congruent pieces is 6. So together, it would be 12. Again, make sure you read a question carefully. I did this earlier and somebody automatically jumped the gun to say 6. Make sure you read the question carefully. PS, it's the same picture, but it's a different segment now. Let me use a different color. PS is here. It's an angle bisector of RPT. So I'm going to highlight that triangle. RPT. And if you need to borrow highlighters on your test, you're more than welcome to keep things from being distracting. So again, RPT is the triangle. PS is the angle bisector. That means RPS and SPT are the 2 congruent pieces. It says RPS is equal to 4x plus 7. So that's this one right here. I'm going to call it also 1. RPT, the much larger angle, is 10x minus 2. What is the value of x? So this is similar to when we did segment addition, where we said part plus part equals whole. Part plus part equals whole. In other words, angle part plus little angle plus little angle equals big angle. Same idea. Or you could say 2 times the little angle is equal to the big angle, which is what I also have demonstrated in the past. So that means 2 times my little angle, which is RPS, is equal to my big angle, which is RPT. So that means 2 times 4x plus 7 is equal to 10x minus 2. So that means we have to distribute the 2 inside the parentheses to give you 8x plus 14 equals 10x minus 2. Subtract 8x on both sides. That would leave you with 14 equals 2x minus 2. Add 2 on both sides, which would give you 16 equals 2x. And divide by 2. So 8 is equal to x. All right, PT is an altitude. So PT is right here. It's an altitude because it comes from a corner and forms a 90-degree angle. And the triangle we need to focus on this time is triangle PSQ. So I'm going to highlight it. All right. It says angle, the measure of angle PTS is equal to 3x plus 24. What is the value of x? Well, since PT is an altitude, it forms a 90-degree angle with not only the one that's shown, but also the one right behind it, right here. So that means the measure of angle PTS is equal to 90 degrees as well. So that means 3x plus 24 is equal to 90, and we can solve for x this way. First, subtract 24, so that would be 3x is equal to 66, and then divide by 3, so x is equal to 22. And on this one, it says that PT is a perpendicular bisector. We've used PT just a minute ago, but now it's a perpendicular bisector, meaning it comes from the corner, forms a 90-degree angle, but it goes through the midpoint. So that makes T the midpoint of the side of the triangle we're looking at this time. Is triangle RPQ. So the very big triangle here. So that means RT is the same distance as TQ, since T is the midpoint. It says RT is equal to 9.5. It wants us to find RQ, which is the big. So again, this is an example of part plus part equals whole. Part plus part equals whole. Or you could say 2 times the part equals the whole. The part this time is RT, so that means 2 times RT equals the whole, which is RQ. So that means 2 times RT, which is 9.5, is equal to RQ. Oops. So let's grab our handy dandy calculator. 9.5. Hold on. Let me take off the pen tool. 19. All right. So 19 is equal to RQ. Number 9 would like to know if the set of numbers can be the lengths of the sides of a triangle. Write yes if or no. So this is where we have to find the sum of two of the sides, and it has to be greater than the third. So that means 12.7 plus 6.5 has to be greater than 17.9. 12.7 and 6.5 would be 19.2, and that is greater than 17.9. So let's try 6.5 plus 17.9, and it has to be greater than 12.5 or 12.7, sorry. 6.5 and 17.9 would give me a 0.4 for sure. Carry the 1, that would be 14 or 24. 24.4 is definitely greater than 12.7. And Last combination is 17.9 plus 12.7 has to be greater than 6.5. That definitely is going to be true. So at the end of the day, yes, these are the sides of a triangle. And I'll just do one more. So we would have the square root of 3 plus the square root of 10 has to be greater than the square root of 20. So that's why we have our handy dandy calculator. The square root of 3, I forgot, gotta turn off my pen, is 1.73 plus square root of 10. Will it do it? Let's see. Yes. Awesome. So that's 3.16. Remember that number. 3.16 is greater than, it's like 4.4 to the square root of 20. And that is false. So the answer for this one would be no. And you would just do the other two the same. Number 10, the side lengths of a triangle are 13x and 9. What are the range values for x? So that's kind of like what we did today. I know that based on the rule, 13 plus x has to be greater than 9. 9 plus x has to be greater than 13. And 9 plus 13 have to be greater than x. So if I subtract 13 from the first one, that would give me x is greater than negative 4. If I subtract 9 from the second one, that would give me x is greater than 4. And if I add up 9 with 13, I would get 22 is greater than x, or x is less than 22. So that means x has to be greater than 4, but less than 22. And number 11 will be the last one before our break. It says you have triangle ABC, so let's draw our triangle. And in their angle measures, 5n minus 11, B is 7n minus 57, and C is 2n plus 38. Order the sides from longest to shortest. We know from previous lessons that all angles will add up to equal 180 degrees. So that means 5n minus 11 plus 7n minus 57 plus 2n plus 38 will equal 180. So now let's combine our like terms. 5n plus 7n is 12n, plus 2n is 14n. Negative 11 minus 57 is a negative 68, plus a positive 38 should be a negative 20. 30, sorry. But let me double check. Let me double check. So we have 38 minus, clear it. Yeah, negative 30 equals 180. And now I need to add 30 to both sides. So 14n is equal to 210 and divide by 14. N is equal to 15. So now that we know what n is, 5 times 15, I know 5 times, yeah, my brain is fried right now. All right, 5 times 15 and then we had to subtract 11. So 64 is one angle. I know 2 times 15 is 30 plus 38 would give me 68. So that's the other angle. That's C. And I do know 64 plus 68 is 132 minus 180, or 180 minus it is 48. So that means the last angle B will be 48. And now we can list the sides in order from longest to shortest. So the longest side is across from 68, so that would be AB. The next longest side would be across from 64, so that'd be BC, followed by the shortest side, which is AC. We're going to take a break right here and come back in a moment.